Hi, welcome to the second of my OpenSpace3d tutorials to make an AR app. So last time we got a mesh, and that mesh shows up as long as the camera is looking at a marker image. So if we look at our plugins, we can see we've got the enabled camera, and if you double click it, you can see it's pretty much just all the default settings, nothing major need to be done there. In the marker image, we got our customized picture, and yeah, and then we finally got our last plugin, which is hiding the mesh unless it's scanned by the camera. If we click play, you can see that the mesh shows up as long as that picture of the school logo is showing, which is exactly what we want it to do. Now, if we're going to expand it with multiple meshes, we're going to need to make some slight changes there. So at the moment, our object setting is only allowing us to have one mesh to be affected by this marker image. So we're going to now start using containers to allow multiple objects be applied to that marker. So we're going to right click scene and then add dummy. And this is going to be our first container, and we're going to call it scene selector. This is going to be our overall container. That means everything's going to be attached to that marker image. So in the object name now, we're going to use scene selector as opposed to the previous object that we had. Then we're going to add another dummy. Yep, right there. And we're going to basically just call this home container. And this is pretty much just going to store all of our buttons, screens, everything for the home screen. So if we change the home container, it affects everything underneath it. So we're going to right click objects and select object link. And we're going to use this a lot, so get into the habit of finding objects and object link. We're going to use the instance name home container, and we're going to give it a color of a nice shade of purple or pink. I don't think it's purple. And we're going to set the father name to scene selector, because remember, that's the overall container. And then we're just going to say that the son's object name is going to be the container itself, so home container. So that way it's still affected by the marker. And the most important thing on the screen is to make sure linked on init is clicked at the bottom, okay? So we're now going to change the hiding, so it's now going to affect the container, not the screen itself, so it can affect everything on that screen. Right, okay, so now we need to re-add the screen. So we're going to go to objects and object link. And we're going to set the father name to home container. And then we're going to add the son object name as the home screen. And once again, you need to click link on init. Oh, I forgot to add a name, so we're just going to add home screen link. Okay, so if we run it now, you won't really notice any changes. In fact, it'll look exactly like it did before. So you scan the marker and the screen shows up. But that's exactly what we want. So we've made some slight changes, but now it's expandable. Okay, so we're going to now look about adding a button, because at the bottom of our screen we've got these two giant blue areas where we should be able to click on something and take us to a department. So we're going to right click on scene and then add a new mesh. And remember, meshes are found in media under the mesh folder, okay? And we're once again going to use plain O1 mesh. As before, the meshes start out super big, so we're going to need to change its name and then resize it. So right click, set alias, and we're going to call this comp button, because this button's going to take us to the computer screen. And to resize it, we're going to right click and set scale. 0.005 is pretty good for a small button on the screen. You'll notice now it's flat on the screen, but it's quite small. We'll probably set the orientation, so right click, orientation to 75 on X like we did last time. Right, now you may be wondering, okay, so we move it down and fill in that blue square. So if you right click and set position, you could do that, but there's no, it's a waste of time. So we'll skip that for the moment. We'll do the textures and we'll explain why you won't do that now. So we're going to give it a name, comp button, makes sense. And then we're going to save this into our material folder. and then we're going to set the texture for the comp button. So once again, go to diffuse like we did last video, and then look for whatever the icon is that represents your button. Now with my button, I've set it as a PNG and it got a transparent background. OpenSpace allows you to use that. You just need to make sure you've ticked transparent for it not to show up. And then we're just going to right click our button and then set the material to comp button. So there you go. There's our button all textured. Now the reason why you don't want to set the position is because when we do link, so we're going to right click objects, object link again, and connect it to that container and give it an appropriate name, comp button link. You'll notice that there's position anchors on the link itself. Oh yeah, make sure the father object name is home container and then the son object is the button itself and linked one in it. Now those numbers kind of mean nothing unless we see it in action. So we're gonna run this in live time and update that button's position. So by clicking the play button, we can see the button's there. And what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the position X and keep clicking apply until it's kind of where we want it to be. So OpenSpace does allow us to do this. Right, the position Y is the most interesting bit because that's not changing its position on the screen, it's changing its position in a 3D space. So if you don't want it touching the mesh, you can increase that and it will basically push it further away, so it makes it more 3D. Okay, once you're happy with all that, I mean, it doesn't quite look in the preview where it should be, but when you run it, it will always be there. Okay, so that's all done. So next up, we are now going to add a dummy, and we're going to add our container for our next mesh. So our comp container. And so that means we're going to need to right click, objects, right click, object link. And we're going to need to call this something like comp container. Make it nice and purple like the previous one. And then the father object name is once again going to be scene selector. And the object name itself is going to be the container. So that way the container will affect anything on the next mesh. Oh, don't forget to tick linked one in it. Okay, so with that all done, we're going to do, we are going to need another mesh. So we're going to cheat this time. We're going to right click home screen and we're going to right and select clone. And then we're going to set the alias of the clone to basically comp screen. We don't need another mesh when we've got the appropriate size mesh already available to us. So there you go. Now we're going to make a new material. So we're going to change that to comp screen. And then make sure that's saved to the appropriate place. So our materials folder, so comp screen. And then we're going to go through and add the texture. So go back to diffuse, look for the 3-dot button, look for the screens, and there's IT and computing, and then just open it. Now, transparent doesn't work with this background because it is just a standard square. But once again, if you do have some transparency, just click it. And then we're just going to right click, edit materials, and apply our comp screen. And you can see it right here. Once again, the preview's starting to be not useful at this stage. We'll need to use the play to see it properly. So we are now going to select objects and object link, and now we're going to add our comp screen to our container. And don't forget to click linked one in it. Okay, We're getting there. It won't work if we run it just at this moment. So we are now going to need to hide the comp screen when it starts. So we're going to use right click object hide. And then we're going to call it comp hide because that makes sense. And then we're going to need to make sure that we have ticked hide on start. And it's the container that we want hidden, so we can have other objects on the comp screen. And then finally, we're going to have the mark image. So if we right click and select lost, then it will close the entire thing. Okay, so that's all set up. Now we're finally going to have our button linking stuff. So we're going to right click, objects, object link, no, object click. That's what we want. And we're going to basically call it comp click. Makes sense. And then we're going to change the color to yellow because it's kind of an input, and that's just being consistent. Right, object name is going to be our button itself, so our comp button. And we're going to set it to a mouse 2D position. And then we're just going to basically apply it and press OK. Right, that's looking good. So we're going to right click our comp click. We're going to make sure it's a left click. And we're going to go to home, the hide home, and make sure it's hidden. So when we click on the button, the home screen hides. And then we want to have it show our comp screen. So right click the comp click to left click comp hide to show. Okay. Now let's just run it for a second and just see what happens. And there you go. Nice, easy button going to a different mesh, and slowly building up this app. So next time we'll start adding more buttons, having sound effects added and stuff. That's not too much level of difficulty. I think that setting the structure of these containers up is probably the most difficult bit. Right, I hope this tutorial was helpful. Feel free to pause at different points to see what I'm clicking on, or ask questions in the chat if you don't understand something that I've done. Oh, and make sure you save it. If you don't save it, you will lose it and have to redo everything. Okay, thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.